You know, we used to live in a college football world, maybe back in the day, where you get really excited about the start of the football season, but your team would take on an FCS school, and maybe they would take on a directional MAC school. Maybe they would throw in a power conference opponent later in September before getting into the meat of the schedule, before getting into conference play. And not this year. 2024 has a full slate of big-time September matchups for Big Ten teams. I picked out 4 that I really think could impact the direction and the national narrative of the Big Ten Conference.
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
Past is meeting present and future right now in this very camera shot. This is the first time that I've worn this t-shirt since it became official on August 2nd that Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA are joining the Big Ten. So now it's vintage, it's throwback. When I was gifted this about a year or so ago, I said, well, this is going to be out of date in about a year, but the gifter said, it'll be a throwback, it'll be vintage, it'll be cool, trust me. And now we got the 18-team memorabilia behind me as well. So present and future and past all coming together in this video and in this podcast here right now. All right, so September football. There is significant football on the schedule, measuring stick type of games for a lot of Big Ten football teams. Before we get into the 4 that I picked that I think are going to be very impactful to determining the direction and the talking points to the Big Ten Conference in 2024. Some honorable mentions. How about that Thursday night opener, August 29th, North Carolina at Minnesota? There's going to be some significant news about me, this channel, and that football game very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. Also, Penn State and West Virginia in week number 1. How about Notre Dame, Purdue, Cy-Hawk, Iowa, Iowa State, Kansas, and Illinois? Like, there are some significant football games right away in the month of September. If you're a fan of a Big Ten team, chances are you're going to find out just how good or maybe not good your football team is here early in the season. All right, let's dive in with the first of 4, and it takes place right away in week number 1. The USC Trojans taking on the LSU Tigers. This is the Spider-Man meme. This is the look in the mirror and I see an identical twin type of football game. This Trojans and Tigers matchup features schools that have produced the last 2 Heisman Trophy winners. Jaden Daniels at LSU in 2023, and of course Caleb Williams at USC in 2022. Both retooled their terrible defenses with new coaching staffs this season as well. Both made the conference championship game in the first year of their current head coach's reign. And both Brian Kelly at LSU, Lincoln Riley at USC were hired from elite programs in the same head coaching cycle a couple of years back, but it doesn't stop there. Miller Moss, the quarterback for USC, Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback for LSU, have both waited their time. They have both bided their time behind experienced players that have transferred in above them, and now it is finally their time to shine at schools that they came to out of high school. The similarities are endless between USC and LSU, and those similarities really tell me that I have a hard time believing that this one's going to be a blowout. But I have a favorable time believing that this is going to be a duel in the desert. I think both of these teams, despite what they've lost, are really good offensive football teams. But I want to go back to something that you and I both heard in the USC Trojans season preview with Ryan Dyrud of the LA Football Network. When talking about Miller Moss and the confidence that Ryan had in Miller that he can have a really good season, starting with this LSU game. You know, when Caleb Williams was the quarterback and you had guys like Taj Washington and others above some of these young wide receivers, Miller Moss, of course, was the backup quarterback. He was running with the 2s. You had the Zachariah Branches, the Deuce Robinson, the Makai Lemons, the Jacoby Lanes, guys like that were also in the 2s. So they were getting those practice reps together for an entire year. We know how important timing is in this Lincoln Riley offense when it's at its best. We know how important chemistry is between a quarterback and those pass-catching targets. So they've already got a year head start. They've already got that jump. We'll see if LSU, where they're at with their chemistry, with their timing, of course, losing Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, NFL guys from that team last season. You know, as much as we want to talk about offense in this particular matchup, to me, it's going to come down to the team that makes the stop. It's going to come down to the team that can make that stop. Specifically, it's probably going to come via defending the pass. And when I look at USC, they have completely retooled their secondary. And the more I really dive into this Trojans back end, the more I kind of like it. And D'Anton Lynn's success rate with players in the secondary as well. Kamari Ramsey and John Humphrey coming over with D'Anton Lynn from UCLA, Achille Arnold out there to Carlos Nicholson. Like, there's a lot of new blood. So you cannot compare anything to what it was last season. Now, there's going to be a lot of growing pains in this game, I think, for both USC and LSU. But whichever team just figures it out quicker, that's going to be the team that probably escapes Las Vegas with a big time win. Let's head to my second matchup, that being Big Ten Saturday night, week number 2, the Colorado Buffaloes visiting the Nebraska Cornhuskers. What an opportunity that this will be. All of the lights and all of the eyeballs are going to be on Nebraska. Nebraska is a more complete team than the Colorado Buffaloes right now. They are stronger on the offensive line, even despite their injuries recently. They are stronger on the defensive line. They are stronger on defense overall. They are more experienced. Now, Colorado probably has a better quarterback, and they do have a better quarterback. The weapons on the outside. Outside of that, I think Nebraska has the advantage. Matt Rule has been preaching getting rid of that losing mindset. And this is a game where it just seems like over the years, they've just needed to get over that hump once. Like 2021, that game against Michigan where they lost by 3. You could look at so many games during that 2021 season. But there were even some games last year where it came down to the closest play. It came down to the closest situation. But once again, you get that in your head. It's that mental strain where, well, here we go, fourth quarter, we're ahead by 3. How are we going to blow it this time? If they're able to beat a decent team like the Colorado Buffaloes with the nation watching, I think that's just going to be able to get them over that mental hurdle to keep on going, because you look at the schedule after this game against Colorado, it's very favorable. Where they could be 3-0, they could be 4-0, they could be 5-0, and all of a sudden now they're building that confidence. They're building that winning attitude. I cannot wait for this game. I wish I was at this game. Personally, I was at Memorial Stadium earlier this summer. I closed my eyes and I could hear, I could feel the atmosphere. I could smell the atmosphere inside Lincoln, Nebraska. It is going to be absolutely electric for that football game, no doubt. The next game is probably the biggest game of them all, that being the Texas Longhorns and the Michigan Wolverines. I think this game for the Maize and Blue is really going to put the Wolverines in a certain direction. Whichever way this one goes, win or lose, I think is what the narrative is going to be for Michigan the rest of the season, right? Because the chalk is telling us that they lose to Texas, they lose to Oregon, and they lose to Ohio State on the road at the end of the season. A lot of people, including myself, think that this is a fringe college football playoff team. With those 3 losses, you look around at the rest of the schedule. There's no Wisconsin on the schedule. There's no Nebraska on the schedule, right? There's no Iowa on the schedule. There's no Penn State on the schedule. You look around at the rest of the schedule, there's not a lot of opportunities for key marquee ranked wins within the Big Ten Conference. So this is a prime opportunity at home right away during the season to be able to get a big time win and really shift that playoff narrative early, because if they can win this game and Texas goes out and they get to the SEC championship, or they have a lot of success in the SEC, I think that says a lot about the Michigan Wolverines. And if Michigan is able to win this game in week number 2, the big noon game on Fox, boy, it's big noon starting off strong with a lot of really, really good games. We'll get to another big noon game here in just a minute. But if they are able to beat Texas, you look at their schedule after that. Now, there are some games that could give them a little bit of a challenge. Maybe they could trip up if they come out flat. But after this game, there's really not a significant challenge until the first week of November when the Oregon Ducks come into the Big House to face the Michigan Wolverines. So a win over Texas could really propel them, and if they continue to build that momentum throughout the season, we could just be in a here we are, ho-hum. The Michigan Wolverines are undefeated once again as we hit the month of November. Where have we seen this movie before? When I look at this specific matchup, now the injury, the season-ending injury of C.J. Baxter for Texas is very intriguing because I think that's going to shift Texas even more into their strength, which is their passing game, of course, with Quinn Ewers. They brought in Isaiah Bond from Alabama this offseason as well. But Michigan can certainly cover. Michigan can cover with Will Johnson and some of these other, Makari Page and Quentin Johnson and some of these other transfers that they brought in. Their secondary is pretty good, but we know it's going to be tested by the Texas Longhorns, right? But the key for me, Wink Martindale. A lot of people are comparing him to Don Brown and how aggressive that he is going to be. If he can get pressure, to me, this game could be won or lost with Texas's offensive line against Michigan's defensive line and their pass rush. If they can dominate up front and then they run the ball fairly well, do what they need to do on offense, Michigan wants to play in a 23-17 type of football game. We know Texas, we know Sark wants to get up and down. A clash of styles here between the Michigan Wolverines and the Texas Longhorns. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Man, are there a lot of great September football games. Let's play football right now. Last one that I'm going to talk about today, we go from maybe the biggest and baddest non-conference game for a Big Ten team to, man, this is intriguing. Man, this matchup is juicy. I've been talking about the Alabama Triangle all offseason long. If you're going to get Alabama, get them early in the season, get them at home, and get them the year after Nick Saban retired. Check, check, and check for the Wisconsin Badgers in this early big noon kickoff game in week number 3 for old Bucky. What an opportunity on a big stage for Wisconsin, for Luke Fickell and company to prove that these Badgers are for real. I think a lot of people nationally have maybe put Wisconsin down a peg or down a tier after back-to-back 7 and 6 seasons, saying this is not the same team that I saw rattle off 9 and 10 win seasons consecutively when you look at the Brett Bielema years, when you look at the Paul Chryst years, right? This is not the same Wisconsin. This is an opportunity for them to prove that they are back. Now, Wisconsin does face some significant challenges in this game. Alabama has one of the best offensive lines in the country. When you look at Wisconsin defense, I think that they are going to prove a lot, but the defensive line is a bit of a question right now. And how does Tyler Van Dyke and this pass game look against this really good Alabama secondary as well? Now, Alabama is going to be installing some new things. Your hope is that you can catch them on a day when maybe they aren't all up to speed. Maybe they're still trying to figure things out. Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson, Austin Mack. What is the quarterback situation? Look at Alabama early in the season last year. They were trying to figure things out at quarterback. Now, Jalen Milroe stepped up towards the middle of the season, and then, of course, they went to the college football playoff. They won the SEC title. They figured it out. But maybe Alabama still is trying to put those puzzle pieces together, and they're still trying to figure out. And maybe Wisconsin is feeling really good about their chances early in the season that they can steal one against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Boy, a win for the Badgers against Alabama would do wonders for putting Bucky back on the map, back in the mouths of national hosts around the country. Because all of a sudden, if Wisconsin wins over a really good team like Alabama, it's a tough schedule, right? That's what we're saying in August right now for Wisconsin. But all of a sudden, you look at Alabama, that's a dark horse, maybe Big Ten championship type of team if they look impressive doing it. No matter what happens, it's hard for me to imagine Alabama just coming into Madison and trouncing them by 30. All of the changes that Alabama has had, and I'm feeling pretty good about what the Badgers certainly have, both on offense and defense as well. It is going to be an outstanding September. We are starting things off with a bang. Which non-conference game early in the season are you looking forward to most? Leave that in the comments below. I cannot wait. I am mentally in September already. Not even that. I'm mentally at August 29th in Minneapolis already. I'm Big Ten Ted. Whew. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.